Carl, I want to add to the conversation to see how you think the Atlantic story fits into this puzzle that is the Trump presidency.
Well, it fits in perfectly because first we have to recognize that almost everything that we know about the truth about Donald Trump and his presidency comes from reporting, great reporting by news organizations, including the Atlantic, CNN, Washington Post, the New York Times, and that reporting is almost uniformly based on anonymous sourcing in part, because that's the only way we can get to the truth. The people who are on the scene, who know Donald Trump, who are participants in his presidency and are telling us the truth about this man, his actions, and his real words, as in this case. The same thing happened in Watergate. We used anonymous sourcing at the Washington Post, Deep Throat. Almost all 200 of our stories about Watergate were based on anonymous sourcing. That's the only way to do this, and we must continue in the press to do our reporting day by day by day, because that's how we know who this president, what this presidency really is. The fake news is the president's news. We're doing the real reporting.
And we're going to hear a lot more in terms of accounts of the Trump presidency from 3 books in the next few days.
That's right.
Michael Cohen's book, Disloyal, of course, his account of being Trump's fixer. There's a book by Peter Strzok, the former FBI agent, coming out on Tuesday. And then Bob Woodward's book, Read, which I think is the most anticipated of all of these. Simon Schuster expects this book to be such a big deal. It's already printed more than 1 million copies. Do you know anything, Carl, about your former colleague Bob's book?
I'm not going to say what I know. Obviously, Bob and I, we're very close. We talk, but we're also very careful not to overlap in our reporting, mine for CNN, his for what he's doing. At the same time, I think that we can expect that once again, Bob Woodward has gone to the real sources, and that those sources, some of whom I'm going to assume are going to be anonymous, perhaps most, but the record will be there, just as it has been in all of his books. And we are going to once again learn about the reality of this president and this presidency, just as we did in part from this story that Jeffrey has reported. Let me add one more thing about anonymous sources and Jeffrey's story, for that matter. This is not about one anonymous source. Look what we did in Watergate. We insisted that we have second sources, third sources. That's the way you do it. And then let's look at the real record of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the big lie. He is the big lie. His presidency is the big lie. Those 20,000 cataloged smaller lies add up to the reality of the lie. And how do we fight against the lie? We simply report the truth wherever it takes us. And that's what we've been doing. And the reason the American people know what the reality of this president and presidency is and have the basis to make their own decisions, like him or not like him, is because of the great reporting. And almost all of it, the crucial stuff, has been based on anonymous sources.
Which then is oftentimes actually verified later on the record by others.
Well,
Jeffrey, last word to you. Jeffrey, last word to you.
Well, I agree with what Carl said. His framing is very interesting, that Trump is the big lie. One of the tactics that they use, people in the White House and supporters, is to harp on irrelevant details and try to create an echo chamber effect, which is just fascinating to watch. There have been no denials of many of the items that I reported on in my piece, including the fact that Donald Trump has called George H.W. Bush a loser for being shot down by the Japanese in World War II. Not a word about that, not a word about any of these things, because I think inside the White House, they know how Donald Trump thinks, and they know how Donald Trump feels about the military and about veterans.